Anyone who's seen my previous videos on converting the backyard into something of a food forest, you know I've covered what was once a lawn with many yards of wood chips. Now, good time for the neighbors to start up their chainsaw. So, and I had, as you see with these beds here, the wood chips ran up and into the planting beds. All my planting beds are surrounded around a fruit tree. This is a pear. Over here I have a cherry, a couple of apples, another cherry, and beyond is apricots. So, as I said, the wood chips have been part of that, but I'm beginning to change that now. What I'm doing now is putting a border along my beds, making it almost a raised bed in there, and I'm removing the wood chips from in here so I can actually interplant with vegetables. I know you can plant vegetables within the wood chips as long as you get down into the dirt underneath. You have to really pull the wood chips away, but I've decided I'm actually going to make these dirt beds. This is actually a homemade compost mixed with some peat moss and some garden soil, and these are Brussels sprouts that I planted, maybe a little close. They're about a foot apart from each other, might be a little close. Some comfrey, a pumpkin here, which I'll end up training to go around the path this way. This is the cherry. These are coral bells here, and I've got another pumpkin that I'll train to go this way. So as you can see, I'm substituting in the compost slowly for the wood chips, and what I'm doing is I'm removing the wood chips and putting them into the path. Now, the one thing about wood chips is after like 2 or 3 years, they actually become compost themselves. So I'm only just taking off the top layer, really, and putting the dirt in over the top, and then planting the plants down into the soil. My problem is all my tools have these wood handles on them that are starting to fade, and I spent 10 minutes looking for one of these tools, and I just could not see it because it was blending in with the wood chips. You can see the wood chips have aged and all, and while it stands out here, in real life it's actually not quite so easy to see. So what I'm gonna do, and I've been meaning to do this for a long time, is to paint them, the handles, with a bright color, and that way I'll be able to see them much easier than if they were just left to their bare wood. Earth-shattering revelation, but just painting the handle. This is a nice bright color. And I'll do that for all the tools. So now that I have my tools brightly colored, so I can throw them anywhere and I'll see them now. What I'm doing to make this bed is I've got these rocks here, and you can see it's a decent sized rock and kind of thin, narrow, I should say. So it's not sturdy just sticking it up on the ground like that. So what I'm doing is I'm taking the tool and digging out a small furrow that will let the stone sit in there. And then difficult because the rock is heavy, so difficult doing it with one hand. Hold on just a second. So there, I've got it set up against the other rock like that, so it creates like a small wall. And then I take the soil and the wood chips that I moved out of the way, and now I fill in around the rocks. Now this is a cherry tree here, so around the base of the fruit trees, I'm going to leave the wood chips there. It's just everywhere else, like around the rhubarb here, and again around the Brussels sprouts, I'll be adding the compost to it. Also around my asparagus. This is the second year on the asparagus, so it's I'm still letting it go before I begin harvesting it. And this little cage that it's grown up through was really to keep my dog from knocking it over and breaking it. So I'll be dealing with each of these rocks all along here and completing the circle around the bed. And then eventually all this will be covered in the compost, and it'll give me more planting area. I mean, it's planting area now, and I do plan on using it, so I have a bunch of extra vegetables that I've already I don't have much room for in the garden there, so I'll be planting them in my beds, and then in coming years I can actually plan to plant in these beds different annuals. Another aspect of the border here is that I got to make sure I leave space in this pathway here to get a wheelbarrow through. So when I end up putting the border in here, I got to make sure there's enough width here for my wheelbarrows to go through. So I've made a path through here, several paths to get through my yard. One is going this way, which is just a singular path for one person between the blueberries on this side and the garden bed here. And then as you come up over here, this is the apricots, and you can see I got a branch going across here, and I actually want it to be like that. I want to give it the appearance of being able to walk through there, but I really don't want people walking through there. My dog actually runs down here, so that's fine. But I want to actually close that off so that you actually have to walk this way then between the beds to come through. So as I said, there's a couple of ways to go through the garden. So you come down here and then you come back to the left, or you come this way and go to the right. Now you can go straight ahead, and that's going back to the pond. And except I put a plum tree here, so it stops a direct path going back that way. Now you can come across here and then continue on to go back to the coop, or what will be the greenhouse. But this is a less accessible route than taking the main path through here. And usually when I come out this way and then come around and go that. But then when I come back, I go out that way and then go through. So I'm trying to encourage seeing the entire garden when you walk back here, depending on which way you go, and being able to take everything in, and also to make the garden more visually pleasing than just walking in straight lines, depending on where it is you're going in the yard. So curves make things seem longer and wider than just straight lines, and that's what I was going for in setting up the paths. So I just need a couple more rocks here, and I'll be able to fill it in there, and then I can add the soil here and continue planting out. I actually think I'm going to be planting some watermelons along here. On this side, the pumpkins are up there. I think I'll be growing watermelons up along this way and then along the path. But I'm also considering along underneath the fruit trees, having the watermelons grow right where my asparagus is growing now. And again, like this little cage over the asparagus here, I've got these wire cages over these asparagus to protect the stalks from the dog running through. Okay, thanks for watching.